about the ease of access to guns. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Booker. Senator Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. His recent attacks on students at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, as well as patrons at the Tops grocery store in Buffalo, New York, Christmas parade attendees in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and students and teachers at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida, are unthinkable tragedies. In the aftermath of each of these tragedies, we go through a number of processes. We mourn, we cry, we pray, we express our condolences for those who have lost loved ones. We attempt to assess what went wrong and to fix any failures of policy or oversights by law enforcement or society that might have allowed these heart-wrenching, gut-churning tragedies to occur. Unfortunately, politics often gets in the way. Every time a tragedy like this occurs, there are a number who immediately demand the same gun control proposals that many have pushed for decades, while simultaneously attempting to defund police in schools. But the people who will be hurt by these proposals are not the criminals. They are the law-abiding gun owners and children in unsafe schools. During the Obama administration, the Department of Justice studied how criminals convicted of gun crimes obtained firearms. More than half, the precise number was 56%, had obtained the weapon illegally. To really address this rise of violent behavior, we need to look at what's causing males in our society to become so angry, isolated, socially detached, that they'll commit these unspeakable, unthinkable horrors. We need to look not just at what caused the tragic school shootings like Uvalde and Parkland, but also what's causing the massive increases in violent crime in large cities across our country, including our nation's capital and cities like San Francisco and Chicago. If we take a look at it, I think that we might find that there are contributing factors that include both cultural issues and policy issues. The cultural issues might include, among other things, broken families, bullying, glorification and obsession with violence in news and entertainment media, obsession with social media, and loss of community connection. The policy issues might include things like the anti-bail policies of woke prosecutors, COVID lockdowns, failure to enforce our laws, and school policies instructing teachers and administrators to look the other way when students display disturbing and potentially violent behavior. Mr. Schachter, I'd like to start with you, if that's okay. First of all, my deepest condolences go out to you in connection with the loss of your son, Alex. I applaud your efforts to make our schools safer, and I support the Luke and Alex Safe Schools Act, which is something that has been proposed in response to your great work, so thank you for that. Now, following the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, we found that the shooter displayed incredibly troubling and violent behavior. And yet, notwithstanding that behavior, which had been observed by a number of people familiar with him, we found that instead of being reported to authorities and removed from the school or otherwise put in some type of a program that might have led to a different outcome, Broward County school officials hid the behavior from law enforcement, didn't report it, hid it, brushed it under the rug. Why would schools hide? Why would they go to such lengths to hide violent behavior? I don't quite understand this. Why wouldn't they just report this troubled, violent individual to law enforcement or otherwise take action?
Thank you, Senator. There's a lot of issues that you talked about there, but I think that the solution to connecting all these dots. I mean, number one, you had a massive problem. There were silos of information. The Parkland murderer was extremely violent. He committed over 55 different disciplinary incidents in school, and then law enforcement was at his house over 40 times. Law enforcement didn't know what was happening in the school didn't know what was happening outside of the school. So it's really connecting those dots. And that's why Senator Grassley's bill is so critical, EAGLES Act. Because EAGLES Act reauthorizes the U.S. Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center, which are the ones that are doing this work of connecting the dots through the behavioral threat assessment. And if the behavioral threat assessments are done correctly, you've got a lot of great outcomes. A couple of them are, number one, reduced suspensions, exclusionary discipline, bullying, racial disparities, and school arrests, which is what we all want. But even more importantly, if you're doing these threat assessments done correctly and properly with fidelity, which did not happen in Parkland. Parkland did a threat assessment on the Parkland murder in 2016, completely botched it. The assistant principal that did the threat assessment had never done one in his 30-year career, didn't know where the paperwork was, didn't know how to fill it out. And I think that, we're seeing the same things in Oxford High School, and I think we're going to see a lot of, in all of these horrible tragedies, because we know these individuals don't just snap overnight. They exhibit concerning behavior ahead of time, and that's why, if we can pass the EAGLES Act, that will reauthorize the Secret Service's National Threat Assessment Center to do what they're doing and pass and teach more school districts to do threat assessments properly. Because if we can do that, we can stop mass shootings in schools. But not only that, the goal of a threat assessment is to get these individuals the help they need. And if we can do that, we can make them productive members of society and make our entire country safer in the long run.
Thank you. I see my time has expired, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator Lee. Senator Klobuchar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.